guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the last review of our 2024 horror movies this week. We've already looked at two amazing films. We've looked at The Strangers Chapter 1 and Abigail, and tonight we're looking at The First Omen. Now this has just got a new Blu-ray release. This came out this year. It stars Neil Tiger Free, the amazing Ralph Ineson, one of my favourite actors, as well as classic actors Bill Nighy and Charles Dance are in the film. So it's got quite a big cast, and it's a really sort of like an established sort of cast of like well actors, and this film is a prequel to the original Omen films. And it's based obviously before the Omen with Gregory Peck. It's all based in sort of Rome around 1971, whereas the other one was based a few years later, and it's based on this young American girl, played by Neil. She's got a strange name. Neil. Let me have a quick look, see if I can find it. Neil Tiger Free. That's a kind of a strange name, but and she's an absolutely stunning woman. And she's this young American sort of student nun who's going over to Rome to take up her sort of vows, a veil. And Bill Nighy plays like the main sort of priest, and they know each other because she was an orphan, and he knows her since then. And this story plays out, and in the other hand, you've got another little story with two other priests, with Ralph and Charles Dance. And Ralph plays, I think it's Father Brennan, who was in the original Omen film. He plays a younger version of him. And they are in pursuit of the truth behind what this convent is trying to do. And this convent in Rome is where our sister's going, who believes that she's going there to this convent to take her vows and become a fully pledged nun. She arrives into Rome, and she's all taken back by the beauty and the history of the place, and she wants to go and discover the place and all this. And she meets Bill Nighy at the airport, and he's pleased to see her because he hasn't seen her since she was quite young, but he's been keeping an eye on her throughout her entire life. Which just goes to show how sort of obsessive that the Catholic Church is over their sort of people. And she's come there, and she's never, she has been pretty much her whole life sworn to the church and to this moment. And she arrives at the convent, and she meets the staff there, the other nuns, and they're all really pleased to see her. It rings very similar to the film Immaculate when it starts off. It's very quite similar in a lot of ways, including the time it came out. It was in the same sort of time as Immaculate, and the storyline was like a little bit similar. So it was difficult to sort of like appreciate one without the other, because one was this one was that one. Oh, that's the same as that, and it can come across as that if you watch them too close to each other. So if you do watch both of these films, Immaculate and First Omen, I recommend you watching them a good few months apart, to appreciate them both for their own individual merit. Anyway, when she arrives, she sees all, and this is a convent for children, orphans, and they've even got a place there where they see mothers that are sort of like homeless or poor go there to have their babies, and all this sort of thing going on. So we think. And the story sort of progresses down, and she goes to her sort of flat apartment where she's going to be staying. She's not going to be living within the convent. She lives in a flat on the outside with another sort of young nun who's going to be taking her vows. But this nun is a bit more promiscuous. She's trying to make the most of her freedom before she actually becomes a fully fledged nun. So she goes out partying and dating and dancing and all this sort of stuff that you wouldn't think nuns would do. Anyway, she's sharing a flat with her. And back at the convent, there's another young sort of a girl who seems to be in trouble all the time with the nuns. I think her name's Celia, something like that. Her name is. I'm trying to see if I can remember the actress's name for it. I think it's Nicola Soras, something like that. And she's like a young girl who always seems to be in this isolated room called the bad room because she's always doing naughty things. But our new nun seems to have taken a bit of a shine to her and feels sorry for her and has this sort of bond connection with her because I was naughty as well and stuff like this. But she doesn't understand why there's this naughty room and stuff like this. And as the sort of like as we see her going through this convent, get to know things, there's some strange nuns in this place. There's another one who's very quiet, who hardly says a word, but seems to be around every sort of corner. And the head nun says, "Oh, she's a wonderful nun. She makes all the other children smile and stuff like that." Anyway, so we meet all these very strange characters on top of this very sort of strict nun who runs the place, and our main nun is sort of like struggling to sort of like get in, understand a lot of the practices that they're doing there. Like I said, with the bad room and things like this, but she settles in and sort of gets to know all the young sort of children seem to like her and start trying to teach her Italian. And that's really wonderful and stuff. But her flatmate is starting to be trying to be a bad influence on her and getting her to go out and sort of like before she does her vows, just one night of life to see what she's sort of giving up. So she goes out to this sort of disco sort of club and meets a young chap there, and they start talking, and she gets drunk, and she starts to sort of like get close to this guy, and then she wakes up the next day and can't remember anything that happened, and her flatmate says, "Oh, you were good, to a point, sort of thing. We had to sort of drag you off the guy, sort of thing." So we don't know much about that because it's all sort of don't see much of it. We just see the next day, and she wakes up with this huge hangover, and all this sort of thing going on. And then when she goes back to the convent, she finds that the young girl again is back in the bad room. And she's finding all these strange sort of drawings that the girl's drawing. And one day she's out in Rome just sitting down, and she's approached by a Ralph, Father Brennan, from the other sort of like priests. And he wants to talk to her. He said there's something not right that she needs to know about what's going on at this convent, and he wants her to go to this room at night to meet him and talk to him about it. She's very offstandish with him. She doesn't want to know him. She's a bit afraid of him, and she sort of like goes off. But he gives her the address and everything. And amongst this, there's a few deaths going on, very similar to the Omen deaths. In the film, we have obviously the Charles Dance is not in it very long. He dies, quite similar to the way Father Brennan does in the Omen, from something falling from a church, and all this sort of stuff. And these sort of deaths are happening around our new nun. Anyway, more bizarre stuff happens at the convent. So she decides to go and meet Ralph at his apartments to find out what's going on. And this is where he explains that the girl that's in trouble all the time is the daughter of this woman. What they've been doing at this convent is been getting these women to have intercourse with this jackal, supposedly to create this uh, resurrection, if you like, of the Antichrist, because they believe that everyone is going off the church and forgetting about it, and all today's youth are not interested in church, so they want to bring the youth back and bring people back into the church. So they think the way of doing it is resurrecting an Antichrist, which is going to obviously put evil on the world, and then they can show how good the church is by when they destroy the Antichrist, sort of thing. I think that's what they're believing to do. Anyway, they've got this jackal, this demon, that has been sort of like having intercourse with these women who've been having different sort of children, and the child that they have, when they've grown up, they want them to have intercourse with the demon, so then it's going to be the pure form of an Antichrist. And they believe that this, in it, Father Benham believes that this young girl in the room, that's in the bad room all the time, is being nurtured up to become the mother of the Antichrist. But he wants our new nun to go in and sort of find paperwork and investigate all the sort of things that's going on. And then when she goes back to the convent and she's sort of really close to this girl, again, she tries to protect her, and a lot of things happen. And the sort of head nuns have told her that because of her behaviour, they think she's ill, and they're going to postpone her taking her vows and all this sort of thing, because they don't think she's ready yet. And she keeps her, and then I've told you about that sort of strange nun that doesn't talk very much, but is supposed to be really friendly. She's been a bit weird as well, and our nun calls her out, sort of thing, and then she acts really weird, and she goes and does the same sort of death almost from the first one with the woman that hangs herself. She does the same sort of thing, but sets herself on fire first. And she says that line, "It's all for you." So it's all these sort of like connections going on in the film, which makes it really cool. But I'm not going to tell you anymore, because the story does evolve, and it evolves more and more and more as it goes on. And I want you to find out. So is this girl locked up? Is she going to be the mother of the Antichrist? Is it her, or is it someone else? You need to watch it and find out, because I'm not going to give any spoilers or plot away, because it's an amazing sort of storyline. So what do I think of the First Omen? Now, obviously, when it came out, I'm in two minds about it, because I was thinking, why we don't need a prequel to the Omen. They're classics on their own. We don't need it. Is this going to spoil the sort of whole sort of Omen kind of sort of story that goes around in my mind and brain, the way it's planted in my head for all these years? Is it going to ruin that? No, it was fantastic, absolutely brilliant film. I loved it when me and the lads saw it in the cinema, and I like it even more now because I've sat down and watched it again, and I've enjoyed the storyline more, because I thought, oh, okay, I've seemed to have got it more, and I'm sure that after the next watch I'll get it even more. It's incredible. It's a really good film, and it's just done so well that it's not out of place with the other three. They've not overly special effected with deaths, and the deaths have been, although they're very sort of disturbing and gruesome, they're not that too dissimilar from the other films. Obviously, some of the effects are better than they were then on the deaths, because obviously they can do that now, but they couldn't do that back then. But they're not over the top, and they sort of fit in really well with the story, and all these sort of bizarre things happening around our nun, and it does fit in so well. And when the story sort of unfolds, it's a very sort of like to the sort of like the epilogue, if you like. It's sort of really, then we see the connection with the Omen film, and you think, yeah, do you know what? This story does matter, and it does really work well and fit in with the original three. Um, I hope they don't do any more, just because I'm thinking, yeah, that was great. That was great. We don't need any more of that story of the Omen sort of thing now. And it was so good, because this when you base around the story of this sort of convent, they've been trying for years to get this Antichrist, but every child that's been born has been deformed or they've been female, and they're looking for a male. And so again, I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to spoil the plot. You probably know anyway what the outcome is of this and who's going to be born. So it's absolutely fantastic. The pluses of the edition, the film looks amazing. It looks stunning. Yes, it does look more sort of like polished than the other ones, but they've been quite authentic with it. Like when you see Rome and that, the signs and stuff and vehicles are of the 1970s. How they managed to do that, I don't know. Did they clear the roads and have all these 1970 vehicles, or Italy just still driving around in 1970 cars? But it was, and sort of like when you see the pedestrians, they're all wearing sort of like clothes of that time, and it gives that atmosphere that this is based before the Omen, because it could have been a danger of it looking too modern, and how can this be a prequel? You know, because when you watch the original Omens now, they do look quite dated. But so it was always going to be a danger and a problem for me. Again, is this going to look silly? But it didn't. It does look of the era. The acting is stellar, absolutely fantastic. What an amazing cast! I mean, to see my favourite actor in there, one of my favourite actors, Ralph Inson, who I love. He was in The Witch and other sort of amazing films. And Charles Dance was in there too, although his part was not very long. And obviously Bill Nighy had quite a meaty part in this film. And a new actress there, Free Tiger, Neil Free Tiger. Anyway, she was fantastic. She was so convincing. Her role was fantastic in the film. I loved her in that film, and she's very pretty and striking. And she's got this sort of very screen sort of presence around her when she's on film. I hope she does make some more movies in the horror genre, because she was fantastic. She played the part really well. The deaths were really cool, really good. The soundtrack was phenomenal. The way they worked the soundtrack was absolutely amazing. Really loved it, and I liked the characters in the film. I thought they were really the film was dotted with loads of memorable sort of characters in the film, with all these different sort of nuns and stuff like that, who were really, all had their individual ways, but all drawn to this sort of like calling, if you like. And it's a strange calling. I don't get it, but it was really well played out by all of them. I'm going to score this an essential watch and give it a 10 out of 10, along with the other Omen films. It fits in with them so well that it would be degrading to the film to not give it a 10 out of 10. It just sits in so well with the other films. And it's really highly sort of impressive. Really cool. It is available now on Blu-ray and DVD. Certification 15. Year 2024. And really cool film. I believe it's an American film, but with a British cast, if you like. So, but it is really fantastic. I don't know if if it is an American film. Actually, it might even be a British film. Let me just have a quick look up to see if I can find out a bit more about the film for you, to see if it was American or British. It's 20th Century Fox film, so I'm going to probably think it's going to be American. Mark Coven did the music. Yeah, United States. Yeah. fantastic. Guys, watch it. Amazing film. First Omen, 10 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below. I know this has been quite a long video, this one, but it's so much of talking in about it, and the synopsis I gave you was probably, I'd say, 20% of the storyline, maybe a little bit more, hardly any, because the story evolves and things happen that sort of like are shocking and sort of like, wow, okay, I like where this story is going. It's that sort of film. But I've given you a big snippet of it. If you have seen it, let me know down below what you think of it. It's an amazing, I think, addition to the Omen franchise. Now, obviously, like I said, I was worried that we don't need it, and I still think that we didn't need that. I still think that the original trilogy is fantastic on its own, just like we didn't need the fourth one, The Awakening, which is a TV film which I don't own or seen. Don't need it. I'm not seeing it because all the poor reviews it got when it came out. So it's just nothing to do with it really. So didn't really need it. So I was skeptical about this one, thinking, well, is this going to be the same way? But no, it wasn't, and it was sort of like fitted in with the first three really well, and I really enjoyed it. Guys, thanks so much for watching this review this week of modern horror reviews of 2024. I hope you've enjoyed them. I say they're all three amazing films. This has been an amazing year for horror films. We've had some amazing ones already, and there's still some amazing ones yet to come, including the new Alien film. Until then, please check out some other horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man View Film, RS Design, Pizzawell. I'm Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. And a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.